It's not quite the aroma of popcorn or toasted peanuts, but it'll do. Today I'm going to make a circus themed drop panel out of this standard wall panel. I've already made a video on how I build standard panels, so check it out to see how I built the panel to get to this point. To start, I need to figure out where things will be placed for my design. I intend to make the panel look like several storage crates stacked on top of one another. I need to draw some lines on the plywood in order to plan out where everything will go. For the drop panel itself, I wanted to make it high up enough on the panel that I wouldn't hit my head on it, but low enough that an actor that is shorter than myself would still be able to use it comfortably. Now that the design is done, I can cut out the hole for the drop panel window. Next I'm going to cut the boards that will make the trim pieces for the storage crate design. With all of the pieces cut, it's almost about time to start painting everything. I label everything so that I know where they go after they're painted. Before I start painting, I want to get the trim boards that go around the drop window glued to the panel. I used some finishing nails to hold the pieces of wood in place so that they wouldn't slide around as I tightened the clamps. Now that those boards are in place, it's time to start painting. So much painting. I start by giving everything 2 coats of white primer. While the trim boards dry with their first coat, I give the panel its first coat of primer. All wood and all paints have been treated for fire prevention, as described in my video for building a basic wall panel. With the first coat of primer dry, all of the trim boards get a second coat of primer. Time to cut out a piece of plywood for the actual drop panel. For this, I'll use a 1/2 inch thick sheet of plywood. I also used the white primer to coat both sides of the plywood. Next, I'm going to cut out some plywood strips to make the track for the drop panel to slide along. Now it's time to assemble the strips of wood into the guide track. Since the plywood for the drop panel is 1/2 inch thick, I used 1/4 inch thick and 3/8 inch strips to make the sides of the track. This makes the sides of the track 1/8 of an inch taller than the drop panel, which hopefully will give me enough clearance for the drop panel to move freely. With the glue dried, I can remove the clamps and grind down any nails that are sticking through the wood, as well as clean off any excess glue. Next, I'm going to install the track onto the back of the panel. When installing the guide track, I need to make sure that they are the same distance apart from the top to the bottom. If they pinch together, the drop panel will get stuck and not work as intended. Now I'm going to add the cross braces that go above and below the guide track. A quick test to make sure that everything works properly. Seems like everything checks out. Next, I'm going to install the gate latch to the frame and some wood to the drop panel to reinforce the panel, which will add strength as well as make sure all of the hardware fits properly. With the glue dried, I can install the hardware onto the back of the drop panel. These strips of wood will be the backs of the guide track. I'm not going to glue them into place, but rather leave them as removable. This way, if I ever need to replace or change out the drop panel, I can. I know that drop panels are very common in haunted houses, and that there are dozens of videos on YouTube showing how to build them, but in the 5 years of doing my haunted house event, I never built one. This is the first time testing my drop panel to see if it worked or not. After entertaining myself and playing with my new toy, I eventually had to get back to work. Next, I installed a couple short boards at the usual 32-inch and 64-inch heights that I usually do for a standard panel. The board at the 32-inch height comes in handy when moving the panel around. Finally, it's time to move on to painting everything to fit the circus theme. I started by painting everything with a watered down coat of paint. Then, once that layer had some time to dry, I'd paint it in a coat that had less water in it. The paints that I'm using are called Wildfire, which are fluorescent paints and are made by Modern Masters. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, it's just what kind of paint I'm using. Since the primer on these boards is white, and the fluorescent paint is white, I needed to use some black lights to make sure that everything was covered fully. Next, I need to paint a faux wood texture onto all of the trim boards. I just lightly brushed on some black paint using the dry brushing technique, making sure to have some light and dark spots to give the crates an aged look. Now for the big one. Time to get these colorful shapes to actually look like something. I applied the same dry brushing technique here to create the aged look that I was going for. I didn't show it in the video, but I actually used a pencil to lightly draw lines across each shape to help me paint the line straight. This was a very long day. I did a solid 4 hours straight of painting and assembling to get this thing done. Even though the detail and drop panel is only painted on, when the room is dark and the panel is lit by black light, it is very difficult to tell that it is not 3D. Finally, the last step to finishing this panel. I just need to grind down the nails sticking through the back of the panel, slap down a little primer on any bare wood, and give it 2 coats of semi-gloss black paint. Grinding down the nails left a lot of metal dust on the back of the panel. I'm going to have to clean it off before I can start painting. I'm purposefully not going to paint the part of the guide track that the drop panel is going to be in contact with, to hopefully prevent it from sticking, as well as with repeated use, the paint will just get worn off anyways. And there it is. Ain't it party? I built that. I think it turned out really good, and everyone I've shown it to so far really likes it. I'm kind of proud of this one. I really wish that I had this kind of quality stuff back when I was producing my Halloween event. One thing I would do differently if I build any more panels to match this one would be to lay the trim boards out on the panel as I'm painting the faux wood grain on them. I feel like I overdid it a bit with the knots on the boards, and it feels like there are a ton of eyes all over the whole thing. There are a lot of things that I've never done before with this panel, and for never having made a drop panel before, I think it turned out really good. I'm not much of a detail painter, but since this is for a cartoony circus or clown-themed haunted house, I think that the broad strokes and boldness works for it. I also left the back of the drop panel white so it's easy for an actor to locate in the dark. I definitely learned a lot making this, and I'm looking forward to building the next one. Now it's time to try my drop panel on an unsuspecting willing participant.
Stand over here.
I'm going to need stronger black lights.
Yeah, just hold on. Let's stay here.
Here? You're skipping out. Oh, yeah, see the drop light.
Hey! No cheating.
You scared me. Because it makes a lot of noise, too. Did you film me? You did. I see the button on there.
Thanks for watching.